2025 is flying by, and I'm not trying to rush it, but I'm already pumped for November because it's BGG-Con! Woohoo! I just love board game conventions that are all about playing games. So BGG-Con is one of my favorite happy places. I mean, where else can you go and play a bunch of hot new releases from Gen Con and Essen, and also discover weird old hidden gems in a massive game library? Join us this fall at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Dallas from November 19th to the 23rd. For more details and to grab your badge, head to BoardGameGeek.com/BGGCon. Hope to see you there. Episode 75 of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candace Harris, and I am thrilled to be here today for a very special 75th anniversary episode with, I guess it's not a 75th anniversary, 75th episode. I have
One
not
episode
been doing,
a year.
Yeah, I have not been doing this with Joel Eddy from Drive Thru Games and Rodney Smith from Watch It Played. How's it going, guys?
Hey
Candace.
Hey,
Hi,
Candace.
Joel.
Hey,
Candace, I've been meaning to ask you, and I hate to cut you right off at the very beginning of the show,
I love it. Go ahead.
but that intro song, what song is that?
It is a song that I wrote, and I'm going to say song in air quotes because it's not actually a completed song. It was a song idea that I was working on for one of my bands, and it never fully came to fruition for the band. So when I was starting the podcast, I was like, oh, that was kind of like an upbeat, happy feel. And yeah.
Now you can do
Okay, I
something
feel
with
like I heard that before, but I just forgot. But every time I hear the song, I'm like, man, that just sounds like something, catchy I heard before.
Oh, yeah,
it's nice. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's when I was working on music for different projects, I would always make demos of song ideas, and I would almost never completely write a full song. I'd maybe write an intro, a verse, and then a chorus, and then it would just kind of go out. And this is kind of the result of one of those recordings.
I'm kind of curious now, though, how much, if you were to play that full song, what you do have, how long would it go for?
Oh, so, I mean, it would kind of depend on which version, because
okay.
there were lots of versions where we were experimenting with different verses and stuff like that. But I think it would probably get a good solid minute and a half.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fun because you will hear little snippets of music in front of your favorite podcast or series or whatever. And there's actually a fuller track behind there, the Secret Cabal Game podcast is the same kind of thing. They have a tune that plays, but there's a fuller version of it.
Oh.
And it's kind of neat when you hear the whole thing, right?
Well, my plan will be to one day actually finish it.
Yeah.
We'll make a music video for it and everything.
Finish it like you plan to finish painting all those miniatures you were talking to us about before we started recording. Have you told people how far down the rabbit hole you've fallen with painting miniatures?
I don't know how much, but I have talked about it a little bit. And maybe by the time it's the actual 75th anniversary of the podcast, I'll be done painting all those minis. Anyways, it is great to have you both here today. Both of you are prolific in our hobby. I will say, I love your videos. Obviously, Rodney, what you bring to the table in terms of teaching games in such a friendly, happy way is just a joy. And then Joel, I've been watching your channel forever just because we overlap in taste so much, from the miniatures games to the war games to the Euro games, everything. I feel like there's just so much overlap where I'm always drawn to hearing, your reviews and which games you're talking about. So it's great to have you both here. And
Awesome.
You're also making Board Game Geek podcast history because I've never, until today, had 2 guest co-hosts on at once. No pressure.
That's exciting. There's no pressure. It's like I only have to do half the work. Joel's there to do the rest of it. It's great.
Exactly.
Joel, what's new with you and like your channel and everything?
Oh, just doing the same thing I've been doing, just putting the videos out, podcasts here and there. The output's been a little bit slower this year than in past years, but still grinding away, even though it's not a grind at all. But just having fun with it. And like you said, I've been doing this a long time at this point. It's been 14 years, 15 years, which when I think about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for a long time.
Do you feel the time though, or does it feel like a blink? Or does
it does feel like a blink. Yeah. It really does. Yeah. It's strange.
I can't think of the last video I saw of yours because sometimes I'll be looking up older games. So it's kind of it's in both cases with you too, Rodney. If I'm looking up some old game, it's funny to see where everybody's kind of channel came from to where it is now in terms of production quality and just life changes.
Yeah. Sure, there's been some changes for sure. I mean, it's funny because I'm sitting in the exact same place I started in, but it definitely looks very different than what it used to look like for sure. It's been quite a journey we've all been on.
That is wild. And what's new with you, Rodney?
Well, what's new? Actually, just shooting tutorial videos. That's still I'm very fortunate. I feel like I'm just as invested and as excited about this hobby as I ever was, and that still includes making tutorial videos for games. I still love teaching games and the process of making the videos. So I was doing that today. I was going to ask you, because this is something I haven't asked you recently. I always feel like you've got some kind of lifestyle TCG that is consuming your life. Do you have one right now? Because I know Keyforge was big for a while.
Keyforge was big. Flesh and Blood was big.
Flesh and Blood, okay.
Now the TCG painting minis is huge.
Yeah, that's right.
And expensive. Those paints are expensive,
Yeah. I was asking you partly because I've been flirting a little bit with the Gundam TCG.
Oh, yeah.
I think that looks so cool. I saw it at PAX Unplugged either last year or the year before, and I thought that looked really, really cool. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Mainly because, yes, I do get so deep into these 2-player card games. And I feel like right now I have so many that I'm trying to, actually play before I just see a squirrel and direct my attention to something else. But I will say React, the Arts of War is super cool.
React, the Arts of War. Okay.
Yes.
I don't think I know this one.
Yeah, it's from an indie publisher, and I took a meeting at PAX Unplugged last year, and with kind of low expectations, but it said something like card dueling game, highly asymmetric. I was like, sure, I'll check it out, and I ended up leaving there with almost everything for it, buying play mats. They hooked me up with a copy of the base game, but I ended up buying the deluxe version, because it's so cool. It's it's grid based like Summoner Wars, but each you have in the core box you have 8 different characters, and they're all kind of anime style art, but they're artists.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm seeing this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so for example, there's a tattooist, and she's doing something with summoning these ink blots. You have a graffiti artist who's jumping around, dropping murals, and using those murals to attack. One of my favorites, which is not included in the core game, but it's an add-on, is a DJ, where she is she has this whole mechanic where she spins this record gradually to do some things, and then she summons these speakers, and she can attack with those speakers at the intersection. And the other thing, so besides the fact that you have all these awesome asymmetric heroes, the other thing that's really cool is it's called React because they borrowed or were inspired by the like React chains from like Magic and I think Yu-Gi-Oh! And when you play cards, you have reaction cards and you have intentions. And so like if it's my turn, I'm the active player, I play an intention card. Then Rodney or Joel, whoever I'm playing against, you would have the option to play an intention card. Or I'm sorry, a reaction card to my intention. You could pass. If you pass, then it comes back to me and I can play a reaction card on my own intention. Then you could decide to come in. But there's a reaction like chain with 5 cards. So either when both players pass or when the chain fills up, it resolves. But it resolves from back to front.
Right.
And so it's really, really like thinky, but it's really cool how all the characters work and how you have to think. And there's like some mind games with it because it's like, oh, maybe I don't even have any good reactions in my hand, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to be like, pass, you know?
Right. Because you might jump in later. Right. Might be a bit of a bluff. Yeah.
And cards are like your like main resource. So if you play all your cards, then you're only drawing one a turn. So
is there deck building or is it a fixed deck? Like this is your character, this is your deck, and off you go?
Yeah, it's a fixed deck, but each artist has like some special components.
Sure.
So there's even one that doesn't use a card deck. Like she mostly uses dice. And then, they each have their own and they have different like things that they summon. Like there's like this pottery girl who drops these little clay pieces and she has cards that interact with them. And if she has a certain amount on the board, she can then summon her big like clay monster people.
Okay, already, Candace, I'll buy it. Fine.
But yeah,
it sounds neat.
It is really, really neat.
No,
and,
I'm legit very interested now. I've like added a bookmark here to go check it out in more detail because I was looking at pictures and it looks pretty rad.
I really dig it, but I do want to play Gundam because I have a friend who did end up, I don't know if he backed it or got it, but he was saying it's really cool.
Yeah, the starters just came out. The starter decks for it just came out like the last week or so. I fell down a bit of a Gundam rabbit hole. I sort of have Joel to blame a little bit for this.
What?
He was
classic Joel.
Kind of.
I take no credit for the Gundam thing.
Well, that's fair. Look, but you've watched some shows that are adjacent for sure.
True. Yes.
And you were talking about those and getting me kind of jazzed up about the whole like mecha Gundam sort of thing. I was never into anime. I always kind of bounced off of it. And it was frustrating to me because it felt like there's all these stories on the other side of anime that I just don't have access to because I'm just not into it yet.
Yeah.
But I got into the Gunpla model building. And I know we want to talk about coins, so I'll be careful not to talk too much about this because I'll just go.
Go for it.
Well, no, Joel knows. Joel will tell you not to say that to me.
You don't know what you're in for. No.
Anyway, it's just like if you've never done it before, you might have seen some of the models in hobby shops. I'd seen them, didn't really know what they were, and I assumed there was a bunch of gluing and painting and all this stuff, and then come to find out, no, you clip them and you push fit them together. And they make these very detailed, articulated models that are incredibly satisfying to build. Like the engineering on them is incredible. So,
but you're not painting them?
Well, they're all colored plastics.
They're all colored. Oh,
yeah. Now there are people, of course, who take it to the next level. You can paint them, but if you were to look at one, you would assume it's painted, and then you'd be surprised to realize, no, you don't. There's nothing to paint, and there's nothing to glue. And they're very like, again, I wish there's no video to show you here, but. Or your audience, but just go look them up. Gunpla models, you'll be surprised at how detailed they are. And there's some that are very simple to get into, might take you an hour to assemble, to some that might take you a few days. Like they're very, very impressive. Anyway, I wanted to know what am I building, and that took me down. Well, these are based on a show. Maybe I should learn what the show is about. And then Joel and I actually watched like the original Mobile Suit Gundam series pretty much together at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, that came out in like, what was it, 1977?
1979.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Wow. Yeah, this is also dangerous to talk to me about because last year I got into anime. And
you did? Okay.
Yeah. I started watching Attack on Titan, and I just fell in love. Like I had seen some of it years ago, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is intense."
Yeah.
But it came back in my mind, and I started watching. I got hooked on the story, the characters, the music.
Yeah.
And from there, of course, after watching all 4 seasons, I ended up, looking around the internet like, what are other good shows to watch?
Yeah, for sure.
And now I've been just consuming a bunch of different ones. And I don't know, I love it. Like, I love the stories, like you're saying, like the music is always so good on everyone that I've been watching. And yeah, I get it now.
Music's a big part of it. It's very dynamic. It's just very certain. There's all kinds of different anime, so there's different styles, but I do feel like anime has a kind of style, a certain type of storytelling I see broadly. I watched a fair bit of Cowboy Bebop, Neon Genesis Evangelion. I fell deep down that rabbit hole. That's another one Joel and I watched at the same time, right?
Neon Genesis, yeah. Well, how many times did you watch it?
I'm working through it the 3rd time right now.
Third? Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm kind of watching it twice. I'm on the 2nd watch through, but I'm watching each episode. I'm watching twice because I'm watching the Netflix version and the original other version that was dubbed differently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And wait, which one is that?
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Highly recommend that one as well. Yeah.
It's very popular. It's a well-loved anime. It can be challenging to get through at times, but that's, I think, part of the enjoyment for me is there's almost a meta to the show because the creator had a very interesting, I think, evolution himself as a creator. And that starts, you see it baked into the show, I think, in a very direct way.
I'm pretty sure that Beth told me about it. Beth Hiley. I think she told me to check that out because I got her hooked on Attack on Titan last year. Okay. And like I remember like last year at BGG Spring, I was like watching it in bed every night on my iPad, and I was kind of telling her about it. And by that Tuesday after, she was like, I stayed up till 3 a.m. last night watching Attack on Titan, thanks to you.
Well, listen, if I got to buy all this React game thing, Art of War, then I guess you have to watch all of Neon Genesis Evangelion. That's the deal.
I'm in. Have either of you seen Code Geass? Sometimes I enjoy organizing my games just as much as actually playing them. I know, it sounds crazy, but I know I'm not alone here. I also love blinging out my favorite games with upgrades and accessories that not only look good and feel good, but they also speed up setup and teardown time. Visit BoardGameGeekStore.com for premium gaming accessories and upgrades like bags and bowls in a variety of colors and sizes, deck boxes, sleeves, card holders, and more. And when I say more, you know I'm talking about those shiny, beautiful Geek Up bits, which are available for a bunch of different games, including our best-selling Quacks Geek Up bits. I can't think of a more luxurious way to brew potions. So treat yourself and your games to some new goodies from the BGG store at BoardGameGeekStore.com.
I haven't.
No, that is on my. Since Rodney and I have gotten this, I have a queue, and it's quite long, and that is one of them that is in there for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to swap queues at some point.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, totally.
Even though I'm like famous for like starting them, and then I like chip away. Like I'm watching Hell's Paradise right now, which is super cool. Solo leveling.
Oh man. I haven't even heard of these.
Spice and Wolf is a nice, like, chill one.
Okay.
Like, I really like the animation style. If you want something that's like a sci-fi thriller, ID Invaders.
I don't know that one. Yeah.
Never heard that one either.
Yeah, there's just so many. Right. There's just
there's tons. Yes, to be fair, Rodney, you got into the modeling first. And then you started quacking about the modeling. I was like, oh yeah, Gundam. And then I was like, I used to watch a show when I was a little one called Robotech. And that one has stuck with me forever. And then I started watching Macross, which is like the original Robotech from Japan. which they butchered, which I have come to learn they butchered. And then we started watching the actual Gundam together, and I was like, this is really friggin' cool.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a funny
gosh.
soup. We kind of like fueled each other, because I came in with the models. You started talking about Macross and things, and I'm like, yeah, that stuff is cool. And I was always a Transformers fan, but like this was something different, and I think we just sort of fueled each other.
Oh my gosh. And we inadvertently fueled each other today, because I'm sending you guys a list.
Yeah,
and I want a list back, because I don't think I'm familiar with that style of anime. But,
right. Yeah, definitely.
But I definitely want to check it out. But that's not why we're here today, right? We're here to talk about something that's even cooler. Well, equally as cool as anime. Today, we are going to be talking about the Coin series from GMT Games, originally designed by Volko Ruhnke. The Coin series is very near and dear to many of our hearts. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys, because I feel like, Joel, I don't know your whole origin story with coin games. I definitely know I saw like your videos early on when I was exploring them. And then I think Rodney, like we kind of around the same time got all into it.
Yeah, very much so. Like I'm excited to talk about coin with you guys, because usually I feel like I'm maybe the lone voice in a group saying, hey, have you guys heard about coin? They're really great. And here it's going to be the three of us kind of geeking out together. But my origin story is totally tied to Joel. 100%.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because Joel, I think, was the first of our trio anyway that really kind of discovered coin. How early on would it have been? It was when Andean Abyss, was it just as it released, Joel?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
I saw the game, and there was, it had some buzz, I think, on BGG. And then, honestly, I saw that you could play as drug cartel folks.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of sinister to say this, but I was like, oh, I'm totally into that.
Yeah.
But it's also like a war game, and there's like a revolting communist faction. There's a revolting right-wing faction. The government. I'm like, what is this thing about? And, it's just, I liked the idea of ideas fighting each other in a way. Because, you have a World War II game or something, and it's like everybody kind of knows what's going on there generally. And then you're pushing troops around, which is fun. I still like that. But this was like, oh man, this was like getting into like the spirit of these people and like what they believe and, or what their sort of goals were in the terms of like the drug dealers. So like, they just want to like gobble up the country and make money. And, the government's trying to keep everybody in check, but the government's not really super great either. And I was like, man, how do you represent all of the complexity in a game that's relatively simple to play? And that just sucked me right in. And then they came out with the next one, which is, Fidel Castro and his whole thing. And I was like, that's always been like a fascinating, crazy time to think about. And, they kind of just kept doing that. And now they've applied the system to, I don't know, more traditional topics and stuff.
Tons of games and and topics. And I certainly remember like at the time that I got Cuba Libre kind of was on my radar, that I was watching your videos. You have a couple of them on that.
I do. Yes, I do. I think I did a playthrough of that and a review, I think. And,
well, that's exactly what hooked me is I watched Joel when he initially released them back in
2012 would be the original
2012.
time.
Wow. Yeah. So like I watched that, and your enthusiasm and what you were describing, I was like, this sounds incredible. And I bought the game like right away. Eventually I got it to the table, just myself, just to sit with it and try to learn it. And I was finding it quite complex. And I was like, I'm making some progress here, but like, this is tough. And then I had this thought enter my brain of, even if I do figure this out, let's just say I burn hours and decode this rule set and all the rest of it, who am I ever going to get to play this with me? Like, I'm going to have to now find someone else who wants to go through the rigmarole of all this. And I kind of made this decision in that moment of like, I don't think this is going to fit into my life. So I sold the game shortly after. but it just stayed as this annoying itch in the back of my brain ever since. There's lots of games I kind of bounce off of and get rid of. I never really think again because there's all kinds of other games that just are an easier fit or better fit for me or whatever. But this one, I could not shake it. I couldn't shake the enthusiasm Joel had for it. He did such an effective job of communicating how cool it was. I then did come across a couple people who were playing it, and I watched them like, yeah, it does look fascinating. And then eventually working with GMT, they did end up kindly sending me a copy of Cuba Libre, which is, I think, a more approachable of the two games, Andean Abyss and Cuba Libre. It's a little more approachable, I think. And it still was a struggle to get through it. But boy, when I got through it, and I sat and played it solo, controlling all 4 of the factions, it's like my brain just came alive with like how freaking cool it is.
Yeah,
Joel, I've never heard it said the way Joel said it there. I think that's such a good way of describing it. It's a battle of ideas, because when you think of traditional warfare, you think of 2 armies in the most simple sense, meeting on a battlefield to fight over a piece of scrap of land or whatever, right?
Right.
And maybe there's ideology behind it, but you're kind of like fighting over this territory. And in a coin game, I'm not necessarily directly fighting you. You're just in my way. Like I'm trying to go over there. You're trying to go over here. And you're just sort of interfering a bit with what I'm trying to do. So now we're, it's not like we're head on head, like to the battle. And that's what's so interesting with the coin system is you have these ideologies that are in, it's a knife fight in a phone booth in this weird kind of way that is not like traditional warfare. I guess they call it like irregular conflict, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a different series.
Well, there's a different series, right? There's a regular conflict series, right? But they're like compared to traditional warfare, they're like a regular combat type of thing, right? Like it's something else.
Wait, how long have you guys been friends?
Oh wow,
geez, like I mean,
I've made it sound miserable. It hasn't been miserable.
I've been friends with this guy so long.
No, that's
I think the groaning is kind of like, wow, it has been a long time. Like you you don't take stock of it really. It just sort of is the way it is, but it's been over a decade. Like I think we met each other. It would have been like we were talking about just recently, Joel, right? Was it at Gen Con in the hall or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. We met each other at Gen Con. I was in line for the press badges there.
Right.
And then standing in line with my friend Lance Mikester.
Yeah.
And Rodney was walking down the hall, and I think we had spoken very briefly on an email or something or board game.
Right. We probably like had some
I know you.
Friendly exchanges on social media or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever at the time.
And then,
board game or something.
Yeah. And then we just kind of hung out a little bit during that con and, just over time.
Cool.
I was basically relentless. Like when I saw Joel as like, I got to go say hi. And I don't know, you just get a vibe off of people sometimes. Candace, it's not dissimilar to you and I. Like when we first met, it was like, oh, there's a really good energy here. Like we seem to like connect. And then you're like, well, I don't want that to go away just because we don't live near each other or whatever.
Right,
so you try to find ways to stay in touch. And then that's exactly what happened with me and Joel,
That's awesome because I think Joel, like you've been somebody I've been wanting to like bump into at some point at a convention. And it hasn't happened yet, but I definitely like appreciate what you do and the games you cover and everything. So
I appreciate that.
You guys are both awesome. You're doing great things. And I know we're going to talk more coin.
Sure.
But before we get into talking about the coin series more and perhaps some of our favorite coin games, I'd love to hear what you guys have been playing lately. So let's jump into fresh plays. Rodney, kick it off.
I would love to. I love that we teased a little coin. Now we're going to go away from coin, but not away from conflict. Not away from conflict, because I want to tell you about Fate of the Fellowship. Lord of the Rings, Fate of the Fellowship. This is the new game from Matt Leacock, which maybe your listeners have heard of. It's based on the pandemic system. But one of the things I find so fascinating about the game is when I'm teaching it, I definitely feel like anyone who's played Pandemic before would be like, oh, I recognize this part from Pandemic. I recognize that part from Pandemic. You would see a lot of things that you would go, oh, yeah, okay, so I see why this is based on the Pandemic system. But when I'm playing this game, any feeling of Pandemic just disappears. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards pandemic. I just mean as an observation, I don't feel the pandemicness of the game when I'm playing. It's so strange because the DNA is so clearly there.
Wow, cool.
And I've played some of the other, what are some of the other pandemic games they've done, Joel, with the IPs?
Well, like was a Clone Wars?
Clone Wars, that's right.
One.
And they did the Lich King one for World of Warcraft, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And those, I would say, I think you felt the pandemic system in them a little more overtly, a little more on the face of it. In fact, even on, I think, the cover of the box, they put the pandemic system. And it's interesting with Fate of the Fellowship, it's like on the side of the box. It's on the back of the box. I actually think that's kind of appropriate because it is certainly part of the pandemic family. You can see that, but not in the same way. Anyway, I've played this game, I guess, about 6 or 7 times now. I absolutely adore it. I've been having so much fun with it. It's
cool.
It's a more involved game. Like there's a little more complexity to it. It's a longer game, I would say, to play. But it's so thematic. It feels so tied to Lord of the Rings, the way the characters behave, what happens on the board, the way it's playing out. Unlike traditional pandemic, you have one main goal, and then you have 3 side goals. And you must complete the 3 side goals before you can finish the main goal. The main goal is always the same, which is toss the ring into Mount Doom. But then the 3 other goals come from a pool of 15 or 16 other goals. You shuffle them up. And these, they just change the flavor when you sit down to play. Because, hey, before we had to go over and we had to stir up the Ents and get them into battle. Now this time we got to go over and talk to the dwarves and get them to do something. Or, hey, we have to go deliver this weapon somewhere. Or we have to go find Gollum. And so it gives you a different mix of things. There's more characters than you can possibly play with amongst a full player count of 5. So every time you play your mix of characters, and you control 2 characters as well, that adds this really interesting dynamic because you can have one character sort of managing one part, one aspect, and someone else off doing something else. And that actually, I think, helps with the alpha gamer problem that sometimes creeps into these kind of games. Because actually, and I heard Shut Up and Sit Down say this in their podcast, and I completely agree with this. I want to give them credit because I thought this was really good insight. You kind of want an alpha gamer. No, you don't want an alpha gamer at the table. But you don't mind when somebody else says, hey, I think you should do X, because you can only focus on so much yourself, even with what you're doing. And you're like, hey, I got this half of what I'm doing figured out. Can you tell me, what do you need help with? Just tell me.
Wow. So everybody, if you're playing this at 4 players, everybody's got 2 characters?
Exactly. It's kind of neat is you assign 4 actions to one of them and 1 action to the other. And so you can flip-flop that. So next time you're taking your turn, the character you gave 4 actions to, maybe you only give them 1 and you give the other one 4 actions. And so it allows you to be participating in more than one place on the board, working towards more than one goal. It's giving you more things to do. It also has a solo mode where I think you control 4 players, I want to say. I haven't played the solo mode, but I'd be very keen to try it because I just think the production's amazing. It's got this obnoxious dice tower that is... It's the giant Eye of Sauron, and it's massive.
Awesome.
And it's awesome because they thought about what they were doing. They made it so it breaks down to 2 pieces, and the insert in the box holds everything rigidly in place. You don't have to it's not this weird thing that doesn't work when you go to store it later. It's just, the whole thing top to bottom, the production, the design. Matt Leacock is a genius. I think it's brilliant the way he's done this. There's an awesome designer diary. I think it's now on BGG as well. I recommend people check it out just to sort of see his thought process. I think it'll mean more if you played the game at least once. But anyway, I've just talked a lot about it. I do recommend people check it out. I did do a tutorial video. If anyone's thinking oh, you said it's kind of complicated, well, maybe that will help because that will walk you through all the steps of the game.
Yeah, Fate of the Fellowship. That sounds awesome. And I think for me, you guys both know how many games are coming out all the time. Yeah. And this has always been one that I'm I'll check it out at some point. But now I'm I want to play that tonight.
Yeah. That's how I feel. And I'm excited to hear Joel's got it. So I'm keen for Joel to play it because I'd like to hear your thoughts on it too when you get a chance to. I think
I have it. I will probably play it tomorrow. Actually, we have a game night tomorrow. Awesome. I've gotten as far as putting together the dice tower, which is amazing because I put it together. It's cardboard, so you're punching out cardboard and folding it and putting tabs in and stuff. And I was like, this is. But then when I was done with it, it's like really sturdy.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Exactly.
it's well made. There was like a couple of fiddly little parts, but not too bad, just a couple. But then, what, like Rodney said, it fits perfectly in the box. All the stuff goes around it. And yeah, it's great. Even I love the little wooden characters.
Yeah.
They're screen printed meeple type things.
I love screen printed meeples.
Yeah, they look good. They look really good.
Yeah, the production across the board is great.
And then there is plastic miniatures for the Nazgul, which is cool. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh,
you've
I'm
got
so
these
excited
great
to play
flying
this.
Nazgul, and it's nice they're on these clear plastic stands. So they are this imposing presence on the board, but they wisely, again, made it so they don't, they get in the way. Sometimes, look, they're big pieces. They get in the way, but they don't block line of sight. And the fact that they get in the way is actually kind of fun because they are a scary thing. And when they're hoarding into the space, you don't like it.
Right. Awesome. So that's Fate of the Fellowship. What about you, Joel? What have you been playing lately?
A lot of things. I'm specifically really infatuated with Tales of Arthurian Knights from WizKids.
Oh, I want to hear more about
this. I've been wanting to dig into this one. Yes, please share.
Yeah, and it kind of came out at the end of last year, but I don't remember the details, but there was some kind of printing, publishing type of issues with it. So it's been rolling out more ubiquitously, recently.
Yeah. It's like a few people had it at the end of last year, it seemed like. Yeah. And then nothing. And now it's sort of in stock now, it seems like.
Right. And it's loosely based off of Tales of Arabian Nights, which come out 20 years ago or something. It was a long time ago. Maybe not that long.
Never played that one either.
Yeah, it's similar in some ways. Just to be glib about it, I like this a lot better. But it's kind of a different vibe, too. Because as the title mentions, it's Arthurian Knights. And you know what? It really feels like you are cracking open a manuscript of some ancient dusty tome of some obscure Arthurian legend that you're going to kind of live out and play out and find out about. Because I think to me, the key to the game is, you kind of jump around the map and have little encounters and, make choices. Do I stab this person? Do I negotiate with them? Do I try to cast a spell or whatever? That kind of stuff. But then the passages that you read, which are actually quite lengthy compared to Tales of the Arabian Nights and compared to most games.
Okay.
So you got to be in the mood to read or to orate if you are with other players.
Right.
But usually that would be a problem for me, but it wasn't at all in this case. I was totally engaged when everybody was reading, and you pass the book around naturally,
sure,
because of the mechanics. Cool. So you're not doing all the reading,
Right.
But the way it's written is so, I don't know, lovingly caring. I don't know what the right verb is or adjective is, because it just all makes sense. It feels very Arthurian, and it feels very realistic, within that universe. It's just really, really cool. And the other part that I like about it is, and I don't know what it is, and it could just be me sort of injecting a little bit of this myself, but the way that your characters sort of evolve over the course of the game, somehow magically, it all makes sense. What the problem with Tales of the Arabian Nights is you do the X and then D happens. Yeah, and then you do Z and then F happens. You're like, that doesn't make sense. Right. But this, because they have this weird card pairing mechanism where you draw one card which has a part of a number and another card has another part of the number, and then all gets changed by kind of what era you are in the game, because there's kind of a larger story arc going on.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And they all kind of plugs into each other somehow. So it's kind of
Is it more does it feel more like the narrative makes more sense as opposed to just sort of feeling like a randomness fest, even though I'm sure there's still randomness to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely randomness, but yeah, because every 4 turns there's a sea change in terms of the overall arc of the story. Mm-hmm. So the first era is King Arthur says, go out and do knightly stuff, make a name for yourself, stuff that's worthy of the storybook. Okay, and then the Holy Grail is stolen, and you've got to go find it, or it's missing. And then that goes on for a little while, and then the end is like the wars of England and the wars of Arthur's table. So the types of events that happen sort of shift, but then all the stuff that has to do with your character is still kind of individual to you, because you have your own traits and your own like little conditions that you get on and stuff like that. And it was funny because like, I've played it and like had a character that is just this total like lust-filled 18-year-old animal. And it was hilarious because he was such a goober, like it was awesome. And it was just like he couldn't, and then I can't remember who he ended up like marrying, but it was not like a normal person. It was like a siren or something. You know what I mean? It was not just, it wasn't just like a maiden or a princess or something. Right. It was like just totally, well, you got what you deserve there, buddy. And then, my one friend, he was playing in one of the games. He was always trying to pick a fight and never winning his fights. And then at the end, because it kind of gives you catch-up mechanisms, he started winning. And I was like, oh, we took pity on him because like, oh, you're finally a competent swordsman. And just like little things like that kind of, the way your characters kind of work. It's just, I don't know. It just kind of like all syncs up and works somehow.
Is it cooperative?
You can play it cooperative or competitive.
A good question. Like, what is your goal? How do you win then if you're not playing cooperative?
So you have what's called destiny points, which are victory points.
Okay.
And you do certain things that give you destiny points, like you do little quests and, chief goals or pass tests, right? So if you do like a combat test and pass it, you get some points.
Okay.
But then what's interesting is there are 3, I'm flaking on the name. I think it's divinities, but you have like romance. No, they're not. Divinity is one of them. Sorry. It's like romance, divinity, and then like evil. And so in addition to your normal attributes of like swordsmanship and nature, lore, and things like that, you have these 3 divinities, and whatever is kind of like maxed out among all the players is kind of what you score at the end. And there's a little bit of that kind of scoring periodically. Okay. So when the era changes, from, knights to the Crusades or the Holy Grail, and then to the wars, like depending on what you kind of max out, you'll score extra points for that. So you get points for like developing yourself in different ways.
Interesting.
And yeah.
So do you, okay. And I have a question back on Fate of Fellowship also. But we'll keep going with Tales for now. What player counts have you liked best or have you tried? And then also, are you preferring it competitively or cooperatively?
Great questions. I want to know these too.
Yeah, and I'm gonna cop the heck out because I like all the player counts, and I like competitive, and I like co-op. And the reason is because there are very different games. Like when you play it solo, it's really cool because I feel like I'm gonna put on a fire or put on some tea or whatever, turn the lights down, and they kind of like just it's like reading a book. It's like a little intimate thing with this character, and I like that. And then when you play with other players, then, at least with my group, you have the opportunity to tease each other mercilessly about their characters, which I really like, and it's kind of fun. And and everybody plays along with the teasing because it's the character that's being teased, not you. And it's a lot of fun because you just see a lot of the things. Now, in terms of the co-op and the competitive, I don't know. Let me take it back. I think I do like the co-op a little bit more because one thing that you can kind of do, which is interesting, is, like I said, you have the 3 eras, with the Holy Grail, but then you have these like grand quests that will change also based on the 3 eras, and they are associated, like they are relevant to the era. So you have like these epic things that you can go and cooperatively or semi-co-op, if you're playing competitive, go and all participate in those. So they like mark a couple locations on the map, and then you and Billy and Francesca all go to the place, and then you all contribute in a way. And that feels more co-op, and that's my favorite way to play, is with those grand quests.
Cool.
And the other thing that's neat about co-op is it's like Race for the Galaxy style, where there's a pool of victory points, and if you deplete it as a team, you win. That's it.
Oh, this is great.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to like generate enough destiny and fame and all that stuff to be worthy, so to speak. And then if you make that pool 0, and then any points you get after, that's kind of like your score. But if you don't deplete it, then you lose. Yeah.
Okay, I got two questions or comments. One, you said you might be playing Fate of the Fellowship tomorrow. Well, I bought a copy of Tales of Arthurian Knights.
Oh.
This sounds like one that might be kind of fun. If you're saying the co-op works well, I'm thinking I might break this out with my wife. Do you think at 2 players co-op it could be fun?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
cool.
Yeah.
Second thing I was going to mention was the book that comes with this game, because I've unboxed it.
Holy cow.
Opened it up. It is gigantic.
Yes.
I knew it was gigantic. I'd seen pictures of it, but when I held it in my hands, I was like, this thing is so impressive as a book. Like, it made me more excited to play it. I think it's a hardcover book.
It is hardcover.
And it's beautifully bound, and like, I want to dig into this and see what's going on in these stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
And WizKids sent me a copy of this at some point, and it's honestly, it's sitting right in front of me on one of my piles of opportunity.
Look
and
at us.
I'm gonna have to break it out soon too, because I've talked about for a while with some friends doing like a Renaissance Fair game day. And I have so many games that are in that like kind of vibe.
Right.
But I've never played the original or Tales from the Arabian Nights. But I remember this looking so cool. And I think Steph Hodge also was saying she was having a blast with it. So I really want to try it.
Great. Yeah.
It's cool. Wow.
Yeah, this is a total dress-up game. I mean, I could see people if they're getting really into it. I mean, 100%, right? 100%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that is Tales from the Arthurian Nights, or is it Tales of the Arthurian Nights?
It is Tales. I'm looking at it of the Arthurian Nights.
Of the Arthurian Nights. Okay, cool. And then so Rodney, going back to Fate of Fellowship, I was curious to know about like if you had any preferred player counts.
Oh yeah, so I've played at 3, 4, and 5, and I gotta say I'm going to cop out as well. I liked all of them.
Cool.
I didn't dislike any of the player counts. Does the game take a little longer with more players? Maybe, because there's a little more conversation that might happen.
Okay.
But that 5-player game I had of it, I really enjoyed. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. I would probably play it with 5 just for the fitting people around the table kind of thing. Maybe.
Cool.
I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm actually very keen to try it at 1 and 2, and I just haven't had a chance to yet.
I can't wait to just play both of these games.
Yeah.
So the game I'm going to tell you guys about is a lot sillier, a lot smaller, and older.
Okay.
And it's a game called Scape Goat from John Perry. It came out in 2020. It's from
it's ancient then.
Board.
Look at these old games you're talking about.
I know.
Old 2020 games.
I had to blow the dust off of it, you know? Have either of you guys heard of this, or have you played any of like John Perry's games? He did Hot Streak, which is a new one that's ridiculously silly.
The other one I wanted to bring up, I thought about mentioning Hot Streak instead of Tales, but Hot Streak, I love Hot Streak.
Hot Streak is awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
I've not heard of this one though.
I have played Hot Streak a lot, and I definitely have mentioned that probably a couple times in the past few months, but so highly recommend. And John Perry also did a game called Spots, and it was like you're rolling dice and trying to like fill in Dalmatians. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So he did that too. But this game I'd never heard of until I did an episode with Dan Thoreau, Space Biff, and I think, the episode was called like Games That Hit Different. Yeah. And immediately after I recorded with him, I went and ordered this game because I think it was only like $20 and it's still out there as far as I know. But this game plays with 3 to 6 players, and it is social deduction turned on its head. So thematically, we're part of this international criminal group of billy goats. You know, scapegoat, of course. And we just pulled off this crazy caper. We got the coveted golden hoof. and now somebody's got to take the fall for it. The fascinating thing about this game is you each have a role, like a character, and they're like different colors and they have their own names and everything. And at the beginning of each game you play, you're going to roll 2 dice, a black die and a white die. And I don't remember if they're D20s or D10s or whatever, but on the back of everybody's player card, there's a grid. So there's a grid that's going to tell you another player's color that's not you. And you're going to be going into the game thinking like, okay, I look on my thing. It says yellow. Uh-oh, I know Joel's the scapegoat, right? And then everybody's doing this at the same time. But the thing is, you don't know when you're the scapegoat. And so, so what happens is you think you're looking for like, I'm trying to bust the yellow player.
Right.
But is everybody else trying to bust the yellow player too? Or are they trying to bust me?
Right. Okay.
And the like what you're doing on your turn is very simple. Like you have, I think, like 4 or 5 actions, and they're just presented as cards that you put on the table. Like one is you can trade a card with another player, and you just simultaneously trade a card. One is you can look at somebody's hand, and another is you'll have these 3 face down cards that what is it called? I forget what it's called, but basically, if you take an action there, you
Stash? Prepare?
Stash. Hey,
thank you, Board Game Geek.
Yes,
I'm looking at a picture.
Wow, Rodney, how did you know? Yes, stash. So when you take the stash action, you take one of the face down cards into your hand, then you put a card face down back. And it could be the same card you just took. It could be something different, but you're basically giving yourself opportunities to kind of swap out your hand of cards because you're trying to make sure you and everybody else who is a mastermind and not the scapegoat, you're trying to make sure you have the color card of that player. And in addition to that, in front of each action slot, there's a face-up card. So after I take an action, let's say I trade, I have to pick up that card that's in front of trade, and everybody sees what I'm picking up, and then I have to put down a card. And when you put down a card, if you have your own color in your hand, you always have to prioritize putting that out. But otherwise, you can put whatever out. And then they're like the last 2 like action spaces. One is go to the cops. So if you start suspecting that you are the scapegoat because of funny business around the table, you know, you're seeing people pick up your color cards and you're like, what is going on? You're getting weird vibes. You can go to the cops and you could, if you are the scapegoat, you'll win the game.
Okay.
Right.
Otherwise, one of the other players is going to try to initiate the frame action. And when you frame
you.
Everybody picks a card from their hand. You go 1, 2, 3, flip them over, and hopefully, I mean, depending on what side you're on,
right?
All players but one will have the same color, and then the other one will be the scapegoat. And I'm going to tell it's a fascinating, like, mental game because everybody is suspicious of everyone, and I feel like I've played it like 4 times now. I played it with 5, and I played it with 6. And at first, in the 6-player game, we were playing with some people who don't play games as frequently. And one was like, oh, I hate, social deduction. Like, I'm terrible at being the bad guy. I'm like, this game, you don't know.
Right.
You don't know if you're the quote unquote bad guy.
Everyone's thinking of the bad guy.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like a fascinating little system that you roll these 2 dice and then you don't know if it's you or if it's the player that you see the color of. So it's really fun. It's weird. We've just been enjoying it a lot.
Well, this designer sounds like they're kind of developing quite a name for themselves with these styles. Like Hot Streak, I'm only hearing good things about. Joel, you were the one I think who told me about that one. And you were raving about that. And then Spots, I've heard really good things about. Small, straightforward kind of game. This is a smaller kind of deduction card game. 3 different styles of games too, right? Like very different games.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody who's going to make a game with mascots racing and you're betting, and then there's an actual person in there, like in the hot dog suit.
Yeah, I know the pieces look great in that game.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree that John Perry seems to be like designing some interesting little games, and definitely keep them on my radar. But yeah, that is Scape Goat. Does that sound like something you guys would be into?
100%.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Have you played it? Did you say you've played it 3 or no?
No, I think I've just done 5 and 6.
Okay, yeah.
And I
wonder how it plays. I wonder how it plays at the smaller player counts, because sometimes social deduction games don't work as well at lower player counts, but sometimes they do. Like Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a fantastic. In fact, my favorite player count is 4 for that one, which is pretty low.
Don't tell me that, because I bought that at some point because people said it was fantastic, and I don't think I ever played it, and I might not have it anymore.
But it's okay. You get the goat game now.
Yes.
You'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know, but I will likely end up exploring it at 3 and 4 as well. Okay. And it was just funny too, because my first game of it, my mom was playing too. And she was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, she understood the actions, and it was kind of funny, but she did well. And in that, like the first time we played 2 games back to back. Game 1, Scape Goat is my friend Steven, who's playing blue to my left. The next die roll, we reset the whole game. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Steven again? Like, what are the odds? And then, like, we go to do the frame, and it was me. It was me, and I was like, what? Yeah. So
it sounds very cerebral. Like, I don't know what it's like for the people listening. Like, there's parts of it, like, I kind of got the concept, but it's like, it almost sounds like you've really got to
try it.
Got to try it. Well, listen, we've all given each other homework now. I feel like we've all got games we got to play and report back on.
Yes.
Based on these recommendations.
Exactly. So that's Scape Goat, and like just the theme and the flavor on the cards, and it's just great. It's just
great. It sounds like Scape Goat might be easier to find right now. Hot Streak anyway. So I think Hot Streak you only get from the publisher's website. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
I think that's right. Yeah.
That sounds right. And is Fate of the Fellowship out? Or?
Yeah, I think it's out, right?
I don't think so.
No, maybe not soon.
Yeah, okay. I think probably by Gen Con. Yeah.
It got held up in the tariff situation, I believe. Right. And that's kind of the same thing with Hot Streak. Like, I'm interested, but it's in the US and I'm in Canada. I can't imagine what I have to pay on top of that. So hopefully it'll get over to Canada at some point. Cool.
Yeah. Well, definitely worth checking that out. And I am super pumped about Fate of the Fellowship and Tales of the Arthurian Knights. There we go. If I could say the title. But those aren't coin games.
No.
Let's talk about coin games.
Sure.
So, we kind of were getting into like our origin stories with the coin series, but do either of you want to jump into and explain like what is a coin game for people out there who might not know?
That's a good one. Yeah, Joel, do you think you can?
I'll take a crack at it. And feel free to step on me.
Sounds good.
Well, COIN stands for counterinsurgency.
Right.
And usually there is like a main principle, which is usually like whatever the government in question is at the time. Not always, but so in the case of the first game, it was Andean Abyss, and you had one faction, which was the Colombian government, and then you have 3 other factions. And usually there is 4 factions. Right. And there's usually the one, like I said, the main principle, which is like the COIN faction, because they are doing the counterinsurgency. Then there's 3 other factions, usually, that are the insurgents. So in the case of Andean Abyss, you've got the government, you have the cartels, the drug cartels, the AUC, which is like right-winger, people in the hills. I'm from Idaho, so I'll make a joke at our expense. People up the hill, and then you have the FARC, FARC, which is like a communist, rebellion insurgents in that case. And then like for Cuba Libre, which was the second game, you had the government, and then you had the 2 sort of communist factions. You had Fidel Castro's, and then the other one which he betrayed and backstabbed. I forget them.
And then Directorio,
Directorio,
and they were kind of like they were like a student rebellion, and they were more if you're thinking, I guess, I believe, in like sort of modern sensibilities, like more left-leaning, they didn't want to replace one dictator with another. They weren't really keen on the communist movement, but they were sort of aligned in that they both didn't like the current government, basically.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Was Castro's 25th July or 25 July or something?
Right. 26th, I think, July, because that's when I think they had the main day where they sort of, I think they took over one of the government installations or something, had a successful insurgency.
Well, we just had a missed opportunity because today is the 22nd of July, and we should have waited 4 days to record this.
But then you've got like the syndicate, which is like
the mafia.
The mafia, basically, right? Who are setting up
casinos.
offshore.
Right.
They're like, well, this is close to America, but far enough away to sort of be out of the U.S. government's way. And so we can set up our casinos and our businesses and run them here kind of off the books. And you got these, Anyway, Joel, I'm kind of stepping in your position, but you're these 4 like unique factions, right?
Right. And then you take those factions and give them similar mechanics, but a little bit asymmetrical. And it kind of depends on the game. Sometimes they're very asymmetrical, like you've got very different things going on with each faction. And in some games, like, for example, the one that always sticks out to me is the Liberty or Death, which is about the American Revolutionary War, that period. And if you play the French in that as one of the factions, you kind of don't do anything for a while. And so you've got to wait for certain kind of levers to click and clock, and then you start getting involved. But you spend that time, you're not really doing anything mechanically, but you can be kind of cajoling and negotiating with people as you go along. So you have like 4, depending asymmetric factions in the game. But not all the games are 4-player. Some are 2-player. And you can usually always play it solo. And when you play it solo, you control one of the factions, and then you follow these moderately to really complex flowcharts.
but the later games have the deck, have bot decks, right?
Yeah, some of them,
The solo systems got improved over time.
Definitely.
More approachable.
Definitely. Yeah, but that's kind of the gist. I mean, so the topics they've covered, to me, has been the most fascinating part. Well, I'm going to give away one of my picks, so I won't mention it, but I've got one sitting on my shelf that I'm just like, how do you make a game of that? And I've just been sitting here for like 3 years, but
But I know what you mean. Like the topics are really fascinating, and like from the ones that I've played, just the interaction is really cool. I feel like the way I usually describe it is like you have these like 4 asymmetric factions, 4 from a traditional coin game, and you're in this like area control struggle. But each faction kind of has their own motivation and different victory conditions. And there are lots of opportunities for like some negotiations and like temporary alliances with other factions. And I just find it so fascinating. But the other thing that I absolutely love about the Coin series is the event card deck and the eligibility system.
Yes.
And this is something that has evolved since Andean Abyss, but generally you have a big deck of event cards, and maybe you're playing a particular scenario, because a lot of these games, maybe all of them, I think, have different scenarios if you want to play like a shorter game or a longer game to cover everything. But you'll have this deck of cards that has at the top each of the faction icons, and that's going to say who kind of has priority from left to right to take a turn. But then when that person decides to either take a turn or pass, that dictates what the next player who has the option to take a turn can do because of the eligibility box.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you always can, usually, again, there are variations between the different coin games. This really is a coin series because it started with Andean Abyss, and a variety of other games have released since then. How many volumes are there? Like over 10 man. And more on the way.
12 are out right now.
Right.
And I think they're like...
And there's a lot of commonality between them. But where they explore different areas of design space can get really interesting and really different from one another. But generally speaking, you can see the current proposed turn order and the next card's turn order. And that means you can see the next event as well. So as you were saying, Candace, like, okay, this card is saying, Rodney, you're going first. And I'm looking at what I can do right now, but I can see the next card coming. And I might be like, well, if I go now, because you can only go sort of once you go, you have to skip a card if you want to think of it that way, or skip a turn if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah.
You're going to go once every 2 turns effectively. So if I go now, I'm not going next turn. And so I'm looking at the board state and going, can I afford to be out of this round?
Right.
And then also, yes, when you do go, you'll pick from a little menu of actions, and then that will dictate what options the person who goes after you. It's very difficult to describe sort of the magic of the coin system, but it's so clever. The turn order, the events, it's fascinating. And it creates, I think it makes some of the biggest distinctions between this and other games that have been compared to it. Like I often hear Root compared to the coin.
Which was inspired by Andean Abyss.
Yeah, I believe Cole has given some credit there and said that like the coin system was an inspiration for Root. But they really, to me, play very differently, and they each have their own place. But like for me, one doesn't replace the other. They're very, very different types of games. Because there's no hand of cards you're holding. Everything's on the table. There's very minimal there's like usually dice in a coin game, and you might touch them 2 or 3 times. In my games, I don't find I find them being used very often. Some games more than others. Like Liberty or Death is a ton of rolling dice, but most of them you really aren't.
And like Rodney, you were talking about like when that event card's up and you're sitting there deciding, do I want to take my turn right now? The other thing you're thinking about is I cannot let player XYZ have that next event.
No,
so
right.
you know, like there's so much where you're thinking about what you want to do, what you can do, and what you don't want one of certain opponents to do as you play. And it's so slick. It's so slick. And
it's interesting too, that deck, because every time you play, the cards are gonna be shuffled up and come out in a different order. And the events again drive turn order, and they drive like the types of powers you can enact each round. And so just by those changing order creates a different game every time you play. Cuba Libre, I think I've played, I don't know, I think upwards of 16 times now. And I still find when I play, as much as I might know, hey, here's what I'm generally trying to do with this faction, things happen that I'm like, don't expect. Now suddenly I'm doing a whole new dance that I've never done before. And I just find that really impressive. The bones of this system are so robust and allow you to do so many different things. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, and not to mention that the event cards have so much of the historical setting like kind of baked into it, and photos, and it really, it's so impressive from a design perspective. It's so impressive from a gameplay perspective. But I didn't tell you guys how I got into coin.
No, tell us.
All right. Well, there was this coin pusher on the corner named Joel, and he was like, hey, you got to try. No.
Sounds right.
I'm kidding. This is actually, like, I probably shared this story before, but I, at some point, was, like, watching videos to find games that I could solo and, like, different, like, heavy kind of solo games, I think. And I found somebody mentioned Comancheria on one of their videos. So I picked up Comancheria, which is another GMT game. And I remember just being like, what the heck? Like when I opened the rule book and I was like, what? But I still was like, I'm going to set this up and try, run through the playbook and everything. And when I told one of my friends who was like starting to dabble into like war games and, but has like more of a heavy Euro game background, he was like, oh, is that a coin game? And I was like, what's a coin game? And like that made me then, start Googling around. And that's when I discovered Cuba Libre. And I bought it like almost instantly. I then, like, when I got it, I set it up. I ran the playbook. That's another thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. The playbook. And like was learning the rules. And then I watched the Cuba Libre story on Netflix. Like I was so excited to play this game. And then guess what? I didn't get to play it. I could not get it to the table. until almost a year later, or maybe more than a year later, during the pandemic, 3 friends and I ended up playing on TTS together. And we, like, that was not how I envisioned playing my first coin game.
Sure, yeah.
But we had such a great time that we played the next week. So it was so cool.
Oh,
we were just like, let's do this again. You know, eventually we played Liberty or Death online also.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it started. And then from there, I was just like, whoa.
Well, it does sort of, again, it sort of opens you up to this whole system of games. There is a little bit of a barrier to entry, but once you get over it, you now have access to a whole bunch of games in this series. Joel, when you're thinking about a coin game or if one's attracting you, do you tend to be drawn? Is it theme first for you, or is it something else?
Yeah. Unless there's some other like wrinkle that's like, I'm like, oh, that's different. So like, well, I'll spoil another one on the list, but I won't mention it.
Sure.
So there was like a format change with one of them. And frankly, the theme, I wasn't disinterested, but I wasn't super jazzed. But the format change, I was like, oh, that seems really cool. But yeah, usually it's the theme. Like typically, if it's not modern-ish, like if it's not 1940 plus, I haven't been as interested because there's a lot of games about, World War II and, ancient Rome or whatever and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff out there about that. And, we were probably all hopefully inundated with it in school. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Not really hopefully. I don't know why I said hopefully, but anyway.
Well, hopefully the education system is telling us something about major conflicts.
I guess. Anyway, fair enough. As soon as I said that, I was like, how are these battles important? Yeah. Anyway, so I've kind of had it with that in a sense, not really, but the modern stuff, I mean, there's hardly any games about that. I can't think of another game that was about the Cuban Revolution. Well, I can now, but there was one that come out after, or in Colombia and that whole thing. Like, there's just no games about that. Or I mean, Afghanistan post 9/11. I mean, you shouldn't have been making games about that yet, and you know what I mean? But like that kind of stuff is just like, oh, wow. And then it just gives me like another way to kind of just sit with a theme or sit with a theater or an event and just kind of, be present with it in a certain kind of way and just experience it or try to experience it. But yeah, it's just the almost the audacity of the topics they take on. I'm just like, oh man, like unbelievable.
It's interesting you say that. Sorry, Candace, I may be jumping in here, but no, because that is something. You were mentioning how, like in school, yes, we get told, about the World War II and those. I, in a way, wish I had been exposed to more of these types of irregular conflicts.
Yeah.
Right?
Not because it's good that they occurred, but I think they perhaps more accurately represent the kind of conflicts we find ourselves in our own lives. Even it's not always that you are directly opposed to the person in front of you. It's that people get in your way. And they're going not at you, they're just going sideways by you or like diagonally past you or something. And that can create a tension or a conflict. And that seems to me like what the coin system is kind of representing, the way different objectives kind of bump up against each other. We're in limited space, limited resources. And how do those factions all kind of coincide? That
war
shift of power is interesting. Yeah, or ideas, and how those ideologies kind of exist together. It's a very different kind of dance that the coin system
because it was always in those other wars. Not to tangent us, but stop me if I'm going nuts here. But in the wars like World War II, you had like these big, huge, massive forces against each other. Good versus evil in some ways, but and that's like a little bit abstract. Like in other big wars, like World War I, you had like this government telling thousands and thousands of people to go fight for them. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay, well, we have to do it, And then, but some of these conflicts, it's kind of like in a lot of cases, these people probably believe in what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like they have some other motivation. And to me, that just seems more, I don't know, I can get it more into that because I'm just like, okay, well, I mean, I may not agree with like whatever faction, like the drug dealers or whatever, and that, whoever Al Qaeda in the Afghanistan one, but it's like, okay, well, I mean, they had a point of view and they had a motivation to get things done. Whether the motivation was, it is what it is. But like I can just that just entices me more. I'm just like, oh man, I can sink my teeth into that and experience that versus these guys that wanted land from these other guys. Like, okay.
Yeah,
that's just governments being governments, you know what I mean? So
Joel, I completely agree that it is really interesting. And I mean, I guess you could say this about like many like war games too, but I love being able to kind of step into a role of whether I agreed with this faction did or didn't do, but I get to like kind of better understand their motivations. And I think like one of the coolest things I ever saw related to Cuba Libre is, I'm sure you guys have probably seen it too, but there's a video out there of this like junior high class, like with these like 13-year-olds, and their teacher for like history class had them learn and play Cuba Libre, and they they're talking about it and like so intelligently, and I was like, I did not know anything about this when I was that age, and I was like, but they were able to like again talk through like the different motivations of every side, and I thought that was like really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I bet they walked away with a different kind of appreciation for the complexity of conflict, and the challenges. And again, it's every game's abstract. You're never getting the full picture of anything, of course, but it does give you a kind of insight, which is pretty interesting. Like, as I would say I approached coin games complexity first rather than theme first. In other words, I wanted to start kind of because I bounced off of Andean Abyss. I was like, oh, this is very complicated, but I hear there's some fun on the other side of this, according to Joel. And I thought, well, Cuba Libre might be an easier path in, and it was. And I've sort of been working my way up complexity-wise. There's two of them I haven't played yet that have been released. And Pendragon is, I think, seen as one of the more complex ones. I actually have it set up on the other table in the other room as one I think I might finally be ready to start chipping away at. But for me, the theme wasn't necessarily what drove me first. I got so invested in the coin system. I'm like, what are they doing now? What's this one going to be about? And I was very happy to then have this reason to learn about the theme and the history and the people behind it. And that was sort of like a gift on top of the game, basically.
Same. And I think I was going to say before, when Joel brought up A Distant Plane, I think that's a fantastic segue into the fact that, I feel like you discovered that these games play really well remotely. And like we got to play A Distant Plane together remotely, which was like so awesome.
So fantastic, Candace. Yeah, we did play. And Joel and I have played played at least one of the coin games remotely. Is that right, Joel? Just one?
We've played two of them at least. Robin Hood, which isn't a coin game, but it's
right.
We'll probably talk about that later. And then the British Way was the other
British
one,
Way,
I think.
Right. Yeah, so we played A Distant Plane together, Candace, and I often enjoy playing the coin games two-player. I don't play with the bots. I find the bots to be just less fun to manage. I'd rather a player control more than one of the factions. And you can definitely play. I've played pretty much every coin game two players where each player is controlling two of the factions. And I find it to be just a fascinating kind of dance. And that's what we did. We each controlled two factions.
Yeah.
There's usually two factions that kind of can work together. And so you end up controlling two of them. The other person controls the other two. There's no hidden cards. Like, it's a deck of cards, and that's all played face up. Some of the later coin games introduce a small number of hidden cards, but that's not difficult to manage in remote play. And when we talk about remotely, we don't mean through Tabletop Simulator, although you can play that. There's also Rally the Troops. You can play on that website. But we were literally playing with our physical games. I would have mine set up in front of me at the table. Candace would have hers. And we were playing them asynchronously. So I would use my phone to record a little video message, basically, hey, Candace, good day. I'm taking my turn. Here's what I'm doing. And then I would send that over to you. You'd get it whenever you were free, and you'd watch it and update your board. And then you'd send your turn back and forth it went. And you can also play like in real time if you wanted to. I've done that before too, where you're just playing sort of over Zoom or whatever. But they work really, really well for that format.
Yeah. I love it. And then I ended up playing, there's a variant for Liberty or Death that was in the magazine C3 3i or
3i? Yeah. It's a war game kind of magazine.
Yeah, and there was some like 2-player variant for Liberty or Death that my friend Hector and I ended up then playing remotely together shortly after that. And now I think the only reason I'm not playing one is because I don't have any space. But as soon as I like get because now my quote unquote solo table is has a bunch of minis and painting gear. Yes, but I do want to get back to playing remotely with people because I think it's just so fun, and it's like you get some time to like pause and like think about it the next day, and you're like, you know.
The mulling is great because you don't have to worry about analysis paralysis because you can take as long as you want. Now, usually the players will find there's a rhythm. Like I'd like to be taking a couple turns a day at least. But hey, if you need to sit there for an hour and think about your turn, go ahead.
Right.
I'm not waiting around. I'm off doing the rest of my thing. I'm just I'll wait for when the turn comes in. And I also like playing with the physical components. I just prefer it to Tabletop Simulator. I'd rather sit there and look at the board, move my pieces around. That's the other thing about the coin game. We talk about war games. A lot of times people think about hex and counters, like little chits and things. And yes, there are some chits for sure. But the coin series, like there's a lot of wooden pieces. It looks like a Euro game. If you were to squint, you'd think it was a Euro game maybe.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, when you saw Andean Abyss, you were intimidated, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
These games are complex to get into. But number one, the later volumes get better and better in terms of how rules are presented and
graphic
what's in the
design
playbook.
And layout is better.
Yes, graphic design, their photos, pictures sometimes, or images. Yeah. There are also, thankfully, more people covering them and making videos so you can kind of get a feel for how these games work. But one of the things I love and appreciate is that, and again, like you said, this is something with a lot of like war games and historical games, but there's a playbook you'll get. And the playbook will give you an example of play that you can literally like set up the game. It walks you through, and then you're going to be taking some turns as all of the factions. And it does a fantastic job of not only saying, put this piece here, put this there, but it also kind of helps you understand why certain factions are doing X, Y, or Z. It like tells this story, and then you can kind of continue the game after the playbook ends. And the playbooks also have like usually historical background information for like every event card, designer notes. I just love them.
Yeah. And I thought Cuba Libre had maybe the best of the playbooks. So it's another reason why I tend to recommend it, even though it's one of the earlier ones. I thought the playbook was excellent because, yes, you're kind of looking over 4 people's shoulders, watching them play a game. And as you said, you can set it up. It tells you how to set up so you can actually do it and be moving the pieces, which is great for learning. But then it will literally send you back over to the rule book and say, hey, read these 2 paragraphs. Now you're going to get the rules for this section and then come back. And I found that really good because war game rule books, this could be a whole separate topic. I find them to be written in a way that makes them fantastic as references. But I'm going to be a little hyperbolic here, but terrible as teaching tools.
No, you're correct.
They tell you the rules, but they do not teach you the rules. They tell you them without teaching. That's why I like, so Gandhi is a later coin game. Now that rule book I appreciate because, first of all, they make better use of white space. They increase the font size, but they also gave picture examples.
Yes.
So they tell you something and then they show you. That's the teaching part. You can tell me the rule. That doesn't mean I get what you've said. But then when you show me a picture and show me the arrows, the piece moving, I can go, oh, I see what you're saying now. Got it,
Yeah.
And it's a thing I would say modern board games outside of the war game space have maybe made greater strides in. And I think it's nice to see war games are picking up a few cues there, I think, which are helpful.
And that's a good segue into the ICS series.
Irregular Conflict Series is
Irregular
what that stands for,
Conflict Series, correct. Right. Yeah. So the first 2 volumes of the Coin series were 4-player games. Or the first 3... Wait, when did...
No, so the Irregular Conflict series is only 2 games so far released, I believe. So
no. I'm not even there yet. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay. I forgot how late Colonial Twilight came into.
Oh, yes.
So I'm like, I'm kind of like talking about like how the Coin series evolved from being this every game is 4 factions.
Right.
And then Colonial Twilight came out covering the French-Algerian War. And it's the first 2-player game.
Right.
And then we had All Bridges Burning, which was 3.
3, yeah.
And I think I remembered one of the things I was going to say is that I love that about the coin games. I love it about like 18xx games, any games that are systems, that are series, where once you get over that hurdle of like learning the first one, then jumping to the next one is not that bad. Like my friend Thru and I, who had like, about the same amount of coin experience, not much.
Right.
One night we were like, the game night ended, everybody went home, and we were like, do you want to play Colonial Twilight? Sure. Never played it. Let's do it. And we set it up, and we played the whole game. Yeah. And it's like, it's because of the magic of like the coin system that you can do stuff like that.
Totally. Totally.
But then we have the Irregular Conflict series now, which is awesome because, as the coin series evolved and, more people are playing it, more people are wanting to design games. There are a lot of game designs that aren't like fully coin games, but they have a lot of coin DNA, and they have split off into their own amazing little series with Vijayanagara, Gest of Robin Hood. What is the
Bronx Expressway?
I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for
me
that.
Too.
It's kind of interesting. I kind of like that they did this because they're saying, not to be precious about it, but I think they're going, hey, coin is a certain type of thing. It's counterinsurgency. There's usually one dominant faction. There's 3 that are insurgents. And you can use some of the mechanisms from that, but some of the conflicts get far enough away from that it would be confusing maybe to call it a coin game because it really isn't. It is something else. It just borrows some of the same DNA. But man, some of the stuff, like I think Just of Robin Hood and I always have trouble pronouncing
Vijayanagara.
Yeah, that is such a brilliant game.
Yeah,
they're both so interesting and different.
And they're like much easier to get into.
I think so too. Yeah,
and they are like, they're super cool. So it's like, I'm really glad that this ICS series exists. Another evolution in the world of coin is like the British Way. And then there's another game. I forget what the Guerrilla Generation, but they're multi-game boxes. And so they'll have like 4 different games that you play that are like connected, different conflicts connected, but they play in a shorter amount of time, a little more streamlined. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, Joel and I played that one remotely, the British Way. We played the first. So there's 4 standalone games in one box. There's 4 different boards. It's 2 with a double-sided. Little decks of cards for each one. But each of those games are smaller games, and they can be chained together into a campaign. I would have said that the British Way, I think, is the most accessible. Would you agree, Joel? Like if you were like wanted the lowest barrier to entry, it might be.
I think unless you start including the ICS, in which case I'd say Robin Hood might be more accessible. But if you're staying strictly coin, I don't know, it's kind of a toss up because Cuba Libre is pretty.
It's tricky too because the first game in the British Way it's got coin trappings. But it's maybe the furthest from coin. It's like missing a resource track. You don't control things the same way. The second game in the series is more like coin, and the third one is very much like coin. So it's kind of like building you up.
That's true. I never thought
it's sort of slowly building and adding in all the elements. And then the fourth game in the series kind of reverts back to the weirdness of the first one with extra bells and whistles.
Oh my gosh, how did we not bring up the propaganda cards yet?
Yeah, that's like there's so many like little elements to the game, right? Like you could drill down in any one of them and be it's like that's just another like element that's common with all coin games is that within the event deck you're going to see it in these cards that are, we'll call them scoring/maintenance cards. And typically you can only win at the time one of these cards is being resolved,
which is a whole
you can get yourself
thing.
in a winning, right. What you're saying, Candace, I think, is you can get yourself in a winning position, but you don't win unless you're still in that winning position when the propaganda card comes up. So that's another thing of timing, is because it is kind of a pick on the leader game in a way, right? Because if someone's pulling ahead or getting close to the victory condition, well, then they're the one people are going to go after.
Right.
So if you think you've got the momentum to get into a winning position, you need to then time it for when you think the propaganda card is going to come up.
Yep. And the last thing I'll say in terms of the evolution, like I really love the ICS series because all those games too, I think play in like an hour and a half or so. Like they're much easier to kind of to get to the table. But then last year we got Red Dust Rebellion, or was it earlier this year? I don't remember. Yeah. But Red Dust Rebellion is the first coin game that's not historically based.
Right. It's a Mars conflict.
Yeah.
Right. Joel, have you played this one yet? I don't think so. Have you?
Not. And I think the length sort of scared me away from it a little bit. And honestly, I mean, not trying to slag on anybody, it's Mars. So I'm
you're not as drawn to it.
I don't know. That would probably juice a lot of people up. But for me, I don't know what it is. It's just Mars. I'm like,
It's funny. I had the opportunity to play it. Someone else had brought a copy. We were at a convention together, and we sat down, and someone taught it, and we played it, and it was long. Now coin games can run long; they just can, because you're puzzling, you're thinking things over, especially when it's your first time playing. They can run a little long, and this one did. It was probably like 4+ hours, and the next day we were all like, "We kind of want to play this again, don't we?" And we all played it again. It was nice. It was quite excellent. Like, it was really interesting. There were some really unique things again. Like mechanism wise, there's so much interesting design space in the coin series.
And it's like, even like Joel, like you, if you're not drawn to that theme at all, the thing that's like awesome that I really appreciate about it, that GMT went there, and Jay Carmichael, who designed it, because I think it'll bring so many more people into being open to trying the coin series. Because there are people that are just like, I don't want to explore these like real life conflicts, or,
exactly.
maybe something is off-putting, or maybe it's just not exciting. But all of a sudden you like space games, you play Red Dust Rebellion, then you're going to be like, well, now I want to play all the coin games.
Yeah.
Maybe.
People might not know this, but there was whispered in the halls. There was an effort to make a run at a Star Wars coin game that didn't work out. Licensing is quite challenging, but there was a design in the works, for that. They got quite far. Yeah.
Wow.
And you can see how that would also be like an IP. If you could attach an IP, something like that, to the coin system, I think it could draw people in who might otherwise be a little bit intimidated by it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you still got the barrier of the rules complexity.
Yes.
But hey, look, people got into Root, and that's not like a walk in the park rules-wise either. You've got 4 asymmetric factions you got to learn still, and those challenges. But you got cute animals, right? So it's like the sugar that helps the medicine go down.
Totally. And actually, Root also has a playbook. It's just called like a learn to play guide. But it's super helpful with these kind of games. And also, similar to like Red Dust Rebellion, it was cool that Undaunted has a space game now too, for the same reason. It's like, I want to say, like, no games are for everybody, but I just think these are worth trying if you're into any kind of game that has like very, really like fascinating interactions between the different players. So cool.
Yeah.
I almost hope that like our enthusiasm, if the mechanics and what we're describing is kind of hard to feel in your bones, what I'm hoping is coming across. Wow, these 3 people got really excited about something that was apparently worth the investment, that really kind of got them on fire about it. And that certainly is the case, I think, for all 3 of us.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of our games that we love playing and or that we're excited to play. And I guess, Joel, why don't you kick it off with one of your favorite coin games? Either it could be just like currently or like of all time, whatever way you want to slice it.
Yeah, I'd say probably currently my favorite. I think it usually goes between this one and Cuba Libre, but I would say British Way, which we just mentioned. I really, really like that. And for a lot of reasons. One, it's 4 games in one. Each game individually is like an hour and a half, maybe. Mm-hmm. And they're all very different. Yeah. And it kind of verges on that ICS, irregular conflicts things. Like some of those games are not really coin. You know, the DNA is still there. Like Rodney was saying, some are coin, but some are just kind of like awkward, like they're quirky, but you know what I mean? But it's cool. It's like, oh, cool. Wow.
It is cool. Yeah.
And I really like that. And the campaign is a lot of fun. You know, you can sort of daisy chain them together. And it's just kind of an examination of, you know, this big empire that just, you know, jumped over its skis and had no business doing what it was doing, in my opinion. I think a lot of people's opinion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just interesting to see the various folks that were involved. Because, I mean, I'm trying to recall all the different factions, but it jumps all over the world.
Yes, there's 4 different locations in the box, too, right? 4 distinct locations.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this cool, like, localization of, look, these people are just, you know, it shouldn't be having to put up with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see the British way is definitely about like the colonization, right? Like the colonial kind of takeover of it's the British way, because the British had come in and colonized these locations or imposed colonial rule, and people are like, no, we don't want that anymore, and they're shaking that off, as you said, like they're past their skis. And then how do you undo that? And you get these 4 different images of how different locations handled it in different ways, right?
Yeah, and then because over the course of the campaign, you're like, you know, did Britain win? Win is a rough word in this case, but you know, it's like did
the status quo?
Did they maintain as much as they could, or sort of not connectedly but collectively, the rest of the factions, did they sort of, you know, knock off enough chinks in the armor of the massive empire to sort of effectively push them back from everywhere, which is what happened. You know, historically, like they had their reach everywhere, and then now they're just all, well, I don't know about 100%, but pretty much sucked back up into their island.
Right.
And I think to me, that's just really, really interesting, because you always have these different, you know, for a while, I don't know, the Mongolian Empire was huge. And then, you know, the United States is pretty big, and you know, China has always been pretty big, and people kind of come up and down. Rome was really big, and Egypt was big, and whatever. And you know,
this ebb and flow, this rise and fall of power, right?
Yeah, and I like the addressing of, you know, the folks trying to. I always say this is kind of glib, but I say the folks trying to go to work, and you know what I mean, and just get stuff done for the day. And then now they got, you know, these guys come in and like, oh, you have oil, or you have gold, or you have whatever. And I like just that aspect of it. And like I said, for all the mechanical reasons too, it's awkward, it's clunky, it's weird, and it's short, but you can do it really long. And to me, it's just like, you know, it just gets me going in all those kind of different ways.
Yeah.
That's cool. I still haven't played the British way, and I was actually hoping to play before we recorded this. But I guess now it's just on the list with Tales of the Arthurian Knights and Fate of the Fellowship. Well, the list grows. All right, Rodney, what's one of your favorite coin games?
This is tough. I mean, yes, I would, like Joel, I would probably say, so I go between of my favorite, Cuba Libre and Andean Abyss. They're very similar mechanically. Even the colors of the pieces are very, like if you're looking at one and the other, you know, it's like, am I looking at the same game? But the thing about Andean Abyss is a larger scale. So the rules are very close to being the same. Even the way the factions function are very close between Andean Abyss and Cuba Libre. But if you want to play on a more epic scale, then Andean Abyss gives you this bigger space and more pieces to move around. So more things to think about. So those sort of fight for my, I guess, top position. If I was to cheat, I would put the 2 of them up there.
Okay.
And then I think my second one, I guess I would say A Distant Plain, the one that you and I played, Candace. It's just, I had been sort of playing them in order, because Cuba Libre, then Andean Abyss, even though they came out in kind of reverse. They were the early ones.
Yeah.
I think A Distant Plain was the third one. And that, I just went, wow, okay, so the design space is so much bigger than I ever would have guessed. Because again, the first 2 are kind of similar to each other. In A Distant Plain, you've got this depiction of the war in Afghanistan that is sort of like, it's unfortunately, when you look at what happened when the US pulled out and what happened there, you could say, well, it was all predicted in the coin game. Like, you could see how things were being held together there and then see how it played out historically and like in front of you. And it's this, like, again, from an educational standpoint, I did feel like I had a better appreciation than I had just from watching the news. I could see like, okay, here's what's motivating the different factions here. Here's why they're doing what they're doing. And here's this terrible vacuum that exists there when you start messing around with the different pieces. And you and I played that one together, and I thought it was really interesting when we did.
Yeah, it was. It was really fascinating. And I kind of contemplated that, and I don't think so. My disclaimer with me saying like what my two favorites are right now is that like I haven't played any of these games a ton,
Right, sure.
Like so it's hard to say. We'll have to revisit this in like 5 years.
Right.
But when I was thinking about it, one is definitely Red Dust Rebellion.
Yeah.
Red Dust Rebellion is very, very cool. Like there's so many, like we were saying, like each game there's like some slick little mechanism changes.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
In like Red Dust Rebellion, you have like this church faction that's kind of like trying to spread their religion, and they have their own deck of cards that serve as resources and that they can also kind of use to like have their own personal events that they can trigger, which is really, really neat. And the stuff where you have like the corporations that are funneling resources, like working with the Martian government to get resources transferred down to Mars. And so that one's really, really cool. And just like you said, when you played it, you loved it. I thought it was funny that you guys are thinking this is longer than any other coin game, though. It seemed like
Did it breeze by for you?
No, but it just seems like they're all long.
Yeah, that's fair. I think every game group, right? It's really the people at the table. People sometimes ask after they've watched a tutorial video, well, how long does this game take to play? I'm like, well, how fast do you take your turn?
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
Seriously, and then it's like one of those things too, where as your group gets used to it, like you're going to shave off so much time, from that first one. But the other game that I have only played once and I think about revisiting so much, and it was, I think, this one's a really special one for me too, but it's All Bridges Burning. The first 3-player coin game.
I haven't played that.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't played that one.
Okay. Yeah, this one is focused on the Finnish Civil War from 1917 to 1918. And it's the first 3-player coin game. So number one of the things I just love is I love like really awesome 3-player games that just like are so well designed, like Three Kingdoms Redux, Churchill, there's Vijayanagara.
Yeah. Some
3-player games are really, really cool. But one of the things I love is the snowy setting. I just love the vibe of the board and the setting. And then you have this moderates faction. They're going to be trying to do all this political stuff, which is really cool. And there's like a polarization track, which was, I think this was new for All Bridges Burning. And also I like that the game is kind of split into these 2 phases where there's like this like pre-war buildup. Something will trigger, like there, I think 2 different ways that it can trigger the second phase.
Right.
But it's just been one that I've been wanting to like revisit a lot. And I think it was the 3rd one that I played, because if I played Cuba Libre, then
A Distant Plane and
no. Okay, maybe
4th?
I think A Distant Plane was after this one, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, this was after this one. But yeah, those are the 2 that again, it's really hard to say, because I think Cuba Libre also, like I even
think about like there's the one called Gandhi, and that one you've got 2 factions that don't even fight.
Right.
Like you've got pacifist factions. Like that's another area of design space that is just, man, when I played that game, I was like, this is so great. Like it was so interesting and unique. And again, the bones of the coin system is there, but it feels so different.
Yeah. Joel, did you have another game that you wanted to mention, like your second favorite?
Yeah, I don't know. The second favorite, I mean, it's kind of like British Way and then Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed also the other one. I'll just name a couple I've enjoyed. I did enjoy Liberty or Death. That was cool. I like the what was the Vietnam one? Fire in the Lake.
A Fire in the Lake. Yeah, that's a lot of people's favorite one. That's very popular.
Yeah. And then I also like A Distant Plane. That one's good. I'm trying to think of some others. I know I played at least one other one.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I was like going into this and thinking about us shouting out games and stuff. I was like, has Joel played all of these? Or Rodney at this point? I'm like, you guys are really ahead.
This Bridges Burning one sounds really cool, though. Like, I just missed that one. I think it looks like it came out in 2020, so I was kind of missing a lot of stuff that year. But what was the other one that I played?
People Power is also fantastic. Like, there's so many good ones, and yet, like, there's certain ones I would have a hard time recommending. Like, People Power, I think, is perhaps one of the most accessible in terms of rules.
Okay.
But in terms of strategy and playing, it might be the most fragile. But I love it. Like, if you have people who really know Coin well, then it's going to be a really fascinating experience because it's such a knife's edge. You can't really make a mistake. I would say like the coin games are very forgiving, generally speaking, because there's kind of a self-balancing that happens. If someone's sort of like making some suboptimal moves, well, you're probably not going to be the target of most people's ire during the gameplay, and that'll give you some time to rebuild. But in People Power, which is 3-player as well, if you make a mistake, someone's going to win. Like someone's probably going to capitalize and just win. You know.
So it's a splatter game.
Maybe a little more like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, of the games that are released and out in the wild right now, of the ones you have not played, which one are you like right now most excited to break out and get to the table?
Well, I'll make it quick. Mine's simple. It's Pendragon. It's sitting on the table, like I said, in the other room.
Yeah.
So it's one that my pal Jamie from the Secret Cabal Gaming podcast, he was keen to play some of the Coin series. And this is one where the theme appealed to him most, which scared me because I'm like, yeah, but it's like the most complex one, I think.
Yeah.
I've been slowly building up my capacity, so I'm going to try to learn it, and then hopefully we'll get a chance to play. What about you, Joel?
Yeah, for me, it's I think Rodney mentioned earlier, it's Gandhi. And that one is one I had set up a bit ago, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and started to learn it and liked what I was seeing, and then somehow just got, distracted for whatever reason.
Sure.
And I have that one sitting right next to Vijayanagara, which is also set in India. And so those two are kind of like at the top of my list, especially Gandhi, because like Rodney said, there's two factions that don't fight. They just
look like, you know?
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, that's, I remember when they announced the game and I was like, oh man, I need this just because it's not about conflict. You know, it's like 100% like ideas, right? It's just,
again, it's representing a different way of dealing with conflict, a type of conflict, and different ways they get resolved, you know? And again, it's sort of, there's the fun of the game. And I love the mechanics of it, but then there is also this aspect of discovery, of thinking about how we exist as humans with each other and sharing the same spaces and resolve conflicts.
Yeah, and it makes you think about, in all games, like you have a resource, like it's money or wood or sheep or whatever. Mm-hmm. And in this one, and like even like in Andean Abyss, when you say, faction X took over an area, they do it in different ways, right? So like you might want to build little bases and that's the way you control things. But the other faction might be one of just putting in like troops or whatever, soldiers. And with the
someone
Gandhi
else might
one,
just be opening a business. They don't even care about the conflict. They're like, I'm going to open up a business. I don't care who buys from me, any faction. I just want to exist here as a business and be successful that way.
Yeah, but that's how they win, right? Like in the case of Gandhi, he doesn't win by obviously killing you. He wins by conquering the hearts and minds of the people. Which this quick tangent that makes me think, Star Wars Rebellion is a coin game, right? It's you have the Empire, which is just trying to destroy everything. And then you have the Rebellion, which is trying to, basically swing the propaganda arm. So if folks are familiar with that game, I mean, you're kind of playing a coin game, not mechanically, no, not even close, but conceptually, it's kind of that idea. Yeah.
All right, there's our Star Wars coin game.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's funny because the first thing I thought of was Gandhi also, because I have not played that yet either, and I've wanted to so many times. Fire in the Lake is another one that I haven't played, but I want to.
Yeah.
But the one that I wrote for my, you like how I sneak some extras in there?
I did the same thing. Yeah.
The one that I actually wrote down as like right now is the British Way.
Oh, no kidding.
So so it's been like fun hearing you guys played it together, and that that Joel, you're both loving it. And so I'm going to make that happen. But oh my gosh, I really want to play Gandhi now. All these games, us talking about them, I'm like, must play coin. Oh.
Well, that's the fun about enthusiasm, right? Like we do kind of juice each other up. We sort of evangelize for the games that excite us. And then that gets us all excited. I think the British Way, though, what's nice about it is it's probably, of all of them, I really do think the most approachable. If you're like, well, could I knock out one of these games on a weekend? Absolutely. You'd be able to learn the game very quickly. You wouldn't have to go through the playbook even. I think the rules, you'd be like, oh yeah, I recognize all this. There's these 2 changes. And yeah, it's a small board, minimal pieces, and like what was Joel saying? Like you have an hour and a half, Joel, something like that, right?
Yeah. About 90 minutes, easy.
Yeah.
And so we also have, let's see, there are 4 volumes that are on the horizons, 3 that are traditional coin games, and then another like multi-pack, I think from the same designer that made the British Way. Of the games that are unreleased, so there's China's War, The Pure Land, A Fading Star, and then the multi-pack one is called the Guerrilla Generation, Cold War Insurgencies in Latin America. Which one? I'll start with Joel this time. Which one of those games right now are you most excited to try?
Yeah, well, if you leave out the expansion to British Way, because they're coming out with it's like a whole, I think it's a standalone expansion.
Oh,
I think so too. Yeah,
it's another 4 scenarios or something like that. If you take that one out, because we've talked enough about a British Way, I would say probably China's War. Just because again, because of the theme, it's like about a part of World War II or like sort of pre-World War II into World War II that I just don't have any like real insight into. And one of my favorite movies of all time is Empire of the Sun. I don't know if you guys have heard of this movie or seen it. It's a Steven Spielberg movie. Christian Bale was in it. And he was like 10 years old. And I was like the same age when the movie came out as he was in the movie and stuff. So it was like totally into it, Yeah. And he is a British person who is in Hong Kong, I think it was Hong Kong or Shanghai. And then, they're there, and then Japan kind of like takes over, and then he gets like tossed around through different prison camps and stuff, and you kind of experience the war that way. So there's like a little bit of like, whatever sentimentality or just kind of like wanting to revisit that moment of my youth of seeing that movie and kind of identifying with that kid. But yeah, like I said, I don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm totally into that. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm just looking up to see. Oh, and that's Brian Train. So, and Brian Train did Colonial Twilight or a Distant Plane?
Yeah.
I was like,
Colonial Twilight. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
And also maybe a Distant Plane. Yes, a Distant Plane. He was also on that too.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So it's going to be complicated. Okay.
What about you, Rodney? Which one of these like unreleased coin games are you? Most
I got to go
about?
with the Pure Land. I'm very interested in that. Joe Durst has done a lot of development work on a variety of GMT games and coin games specifically, and I really appreciate his attention to detail and the follow-up. I want to give GMT some credit here. One thing that they do with their games, which I really appreciate, is they'll have a game release, and like many games, not perfect, there'll be some errata, there'll be something mislabeled or whatever, but they collect all that errata, correct the cards, the tokens, the rule book, whatever, and then in the second printing, all those updates are in there. I mean, there's so many games that get printed and reprinted and reprinted and reprinted with all the same mistakes in them. Publishers don't necessarily take the time to collect that information and improve their product for the next people who buy it. And I really appreciate that GMT does that. In fact, sometimes they'll even offer you some ways to get those corrected elements a little sooner in a separate package or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, Joe's just somebody who's very attentive. He's very good about being online and helping people. If you have a question, you're probably going to get an answer from him on BGG or wherever GMT is. So anyway, the look of it's fantastic. I haven't seen a coin game, I don't think, in Japan yet.
Right.
So this is something I'm very interested in historically as well. And it looks beautiful. The board looks gorgeous. I expect it'll just be another sign of GMT evolving as a company. I think they're just getting better with the graphic design and presentation. They're not making their games any shorter in terms of the titles. Because the Pure Land, Onin War in Muromachi, Japan, 1465 to 1477. It's a mouthful.
Yes. And also my friend Jake and I always joke about like how many GMT games on the back. You know how they have the complexity chart? Yeah. There'll be so many games that are just like the same, like Fire in the Lake might be the same as like Twilight Struggle or something.
Yeah.
Or just
you're like, on what
fun.
planet?
Yeah, it's fun. But this is kind of hilarious because we started with Joel, and Joel picked China's War, which is volume 13.
Yeah.
Rodney, you picked the Pure Land, which is 14, and I picked A Fading Star, which is 15.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I mean, both of those games sound like super exciting, and oh my gosh, yeah. But like A Fading Star, the tagline is insurgency and piracy in Somalia. So,
right.
Yeah, so this one is, and this is also a more modern coin game because it's like taking place in like 2007, and it's kind of covering like these different civil wars that were going on in Somalia. And the thing that like sounded interesting to me is, well, there were like a couple things. And one of them is that they have this new, like anytime there's like, oh, this is the first time this coin game is doing this thing, I'm like, ooh, what is it? But there's a clan struggle phase where it's kind of like representing the conflict's unique uncertainties, and you get to like bid for support, like to have alliances with local clans. And it's like it's something new, and I think it's like part of the propaganda phase. It could also be like, now I'm thinking about Red Dust Rebellion. Red Dust Rebellion has some track that I can't think of, but the event cards will push this track forward. There'll be like a number on there. I wish I could think of what it was called, but the event track pushes it forward. And then when that track kind of hits the end, something happens. And it's not the propaganda phase. It's like a different little interruption, which is neat. So I kind of wonder if this clan struggle is sort of like that, although I don't know of any other coin game where you're like bidding for alliances. So that sounds like really neat. And just
something different.
Yeah. And just the fact that it's covering some like piracy and it's in Somalia, and I know nothing about this. So that's why this one kind of like struck me. But I'm also like really excited about the Pure Land and China's War too.
So really, like, we're kind of the ideal game group, because then we would each buy it. We wouldn't all have to have a copy of it, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we're GMT's nightmare because we're too simpatico, right? Like,
I think it's really, really funny how that worked out.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys, like, I put this as an idea, do you have any thoughts on like what you would like to see as like a topic for the coin series?
Man, that is a good question. A couple things. One, they're kind of doing with Cross Bronx Expressway, although it's not coin, it's ICS, but something that isn't like a conflict. You know what I mean? Like it's like a tug of war for some some idea to win over another or something like that. Like that kind of thing set in the modern days. And I don't know what it would be. It could be anything, but something like that, where I think they could apply it to something, kind of like some of the PAX games do, where it's kind of like a seesaw about who's in power and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So something like that, or Game of Thrones would be. I like Game of Thrones. So
yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a very good one. If you're thinking about what's an IP that could attract people from outside the hobby or outside of war games,
right,
that could have a strong pull for sure.
Yeah, I think it's it's ripe for it. You could have I don't know who is not familiar with the show, but you've got Daenerys with a big old dragon. Yeah. So that's probably like the that's very asymmetric. Yeah, asymmetric to the I don't know whoever else is in charge, but
we're gonna need minis. We're gonna need minis.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Or at least like a little screen printed dragon meeple.
Yeah.
I can't paint that.
That's true.
What about you, Rodney? Have you ever thought about like
a little bit? A little bit. I'm in Canada, so sometimes I think like, is there a conflict that is from Canadian history that might be of interest? And I did look it up, and there actually are some papers that have been written around the Canadian insurgency in the Northwest. There was a Northwest Rebellion of 1885, and basically it was the Métis and the First Nations were insurgent groups against the Canadian government. And I got a couple of documents on it because I was like, I'd like to read about this, maybe learn a little bit about it and see if there's anything to explore there potentially. I don't have a game design desire in me, really. Like I find I have enough things to try to do besides try. And I'm happy for other people to design the games and I'll just enjoy playing them. But if I was to think about something that could be of interest to me, well, I don't have to design Coin. Coin already exists. It's a framework. Maybe there's a way to find an interesting approach there potentially. So yeah, that's just something I think about sometimes.
I feel like almost like every other month, something will happen and it'll be like, oh, that should be a Coin game. But of course, I can't think of anything specific today. But at some point when I was kind of thinking about like, okay, when the day comes that I want to design a historical game, I was like brainstorming topics, and I don't know yet because I bought a couple books and have not read them. But I was thinking about like the Black Panthers and like the history of that group and what went on. But like I can't say too much, or if it would work as a Coin series, like who the factions would all be. But it was just something I was like, I want to learn more about that movement and the people who were involved and like what that all was like, or something with maybe like civil rights or something.
Yeah. Again, the war of ideas, civil rights.
Yeah.
I mean, what Joel was saying too with was it called Cross Bronx Way?
Cross Bronx Express.
Express, right. Like again, like the ideas there, it's irregular. It's not like the typical kind of conflict, but you can find conflict in pretty much anything, including like where should we go out to eat tonight? like the politics of that too. Like so if you can, I think that's maybe one of the more interesting places to plumb is outside of traditional. We got our guns, we're coming for you kind of thing. That war of ideas sometimes might be something more interesting to explore. Potentially, right? So civil rights movement's an excellent example of that, right? Now, would it fit in the Coin system or is it some other kind of irregular thing? That's the challenge, I guess, right?
Yeah. One of the things I was like wondering, and I wanted to ask you guys who have been gaming longer than I have, but were there any like major game system / series that kind of were popular before the Coin series? Because it's like, I see it a lot with GMT. I know Churchill and Versailles, like 1919. That's a series. I think it's called like the Great Statesman series. Now we have Levy and Campaign, which is awesome. But like, were there any games that were in the historical space like doing this like as a system before Coin?
I mean, there's Command and Colors, which is still going today.
Right.
Good one.
Yeah.
And, Trying to think that
I was going to say, like, I mean,
squad leader. Right?
That's what I was going to say. Squad leader,
Okay.
Squad leader and advanced squad leader. There's all kinds of like games or modules that get glommed onto that for sure.
Cool. It was just like a random curiosity thought. And speaking of random, I just started doing something because I always have these like random ideas and thoughts. And I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to roll these 2 dice. I have a purple and orange D20 here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to roll them. And who wants to go first? Because I'm going to ask you a random game-related question.
Joel does, obviously.
It's Joel.
Okay.
All right.
Keep the theme here.
All right, Joel, we got 18-3. So I'm going to look at my little table.
This sounds like Tales of Arthurian Knights.
Right. Get out your tome. Read a passage.
Hey, this is actually a good one. What's your preferred way?
Oh, then I want to go first. Sorry.
No, actually, you can't answer this one. What's your preferred way to learn a game?
Oh yeah, Rodney cannot answer this. I don't. I think Rodney should cover his ears for this one. I don't no,
I mean, we're all friends here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, reading the rules, but I will say Rodney and others like him are a huge help, and I will often kind of juggle a lot of different ways to learn the rules. You know, I will read the rules. I will listen to a video or watch a video while I'm reading the rules sometimes.
Yeah. Nice.
And then other times I will, depending on the game, like set the game up, you know, and then kind of go through like a playbook or something, or go through like a fake turn or something like that, and then kind of get my feet wet that way. But it kind of depends on the game, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's like one of my things too. That's why like I've been doing some videos for GMT and Phalanx, and it's like because I love these games, these historical games, and you know, maybe 5 years ago, it was hard to find videos to wrap your head around how they work. So I love that like more games are, you know, more people are putting playthroughs out and how to play videos on some of these games, because they often are not nearly as complex as it seems. Like if you play with someone who's an expert at it and they teach you, it's like, oh, wow. But if you're learning, you know, like a coin game by yourself, it's like it can be very intimidating.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
All right. You ready for your random question, Rodney? Here we go.
Hit me.
All right. Let's see. We got a 2-2. Wow. Okay. For 2-2.
Yep. I'm ready.
We have, what was your favorite game growing up?
Oh, that's a fun one. Well, can I sort of stay on theme then? Because I'm sure like growing up, I would have played some of the mass market games and would have enjoyed some of those, you know.
Hungry Hippo.
Yeah, sure. Well, hey.
Don't be ashamed.
I love Hungry Hippo.
I'll play it right now. What are you talking about?
That's right. Bring it on. I will destroy you. The first, well, I guess I would say the second sort of hobby war game I got. Really, war games is kind of how I got into the hobby. Modern board gaming, I guess, because I got this catalog. It showed a bunch of war games in it. I don't know where I got it from, some store. And I was like, what are these games? And I asked my parents to help me pay for this very expensive at the time, like $80 game. Like, would you pay half? I'll pay the other half. And it was this war game that had an 80-page rule book. And that just had me fascinated. What could possibly be in 80 pages of rules? I'd played Risk. I'd played Monopoly. What could this possibly be simulated? You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And that just made me intensely curious, as opposed to what I suppose would be the more natural reaction, which is run screaming in the other direction, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that game I never got played because it was too big and the scope was too big to ever like be able to bring to anyone else and engage them, especially when I was probably 12 or something. I don't know. I was pretty young. Anyway, then that led me to Ambush. Ambush was a solo game, war game, and it was just incredible. It created narrative and story, had you creating characters, playing through a campaign, and designed by John Butterfield, who has worked on several other great games. Has another one coming from GMT later, Away Space Team. Something.
Away? Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, he also designed a game called
Space
Space
Corps?
Corps? Yeah, Space Corps. And that's a brilliant game. Very different than Ambush or whatever. But I'm just like, he's had a really interesting design journey. And Ambush was so completely transformative to me. I feel like that probably set me up to be, interested in games the way I am today because of that.
That's so cool. And like right before you started talking, and we were teasing you about Hungry Hungry Hippo being your favorite game. I was wondering, just as a funny thought, like which mass market game is closest to a coin game?
Ooh.
That's a good question, man.
Clue? I didn't know.
I don't know. Like, it's difficult. I want to default to like a war game, but I feel like Risk isn't at all like a coin game.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
That might be tough.
That's food for thought. That's food for thought. If there is some old classic mass market game that has some kind of coininess to it.
Well, I've got one. It's not old.
Okay,
it's kind of old. It's the Queen's Gambit from Hasbro, and then they came out with Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Risk.
Yes, which is not like Risk. It just has the Risk name on it. Yeah.
It's more like Queen's Gambit, and it's only 2-player, but you're playing totally asymmetrical.
That's true. Oh, good
and
one.
You have. I'm stretching here, but I'm just trying to scratch at it. So
it's working.
And then you have, like for Queen's Gambit, you have like because it's based off of Phantom Menace, the original of the new trilogy. So you have like the ground battle with the robots and the Gungans, and then you have the lightsaber fight, I think, with Darth Maul, and then you have Queen Amidala like going up the tower or whatever, that part of it, and then there's the space battle, right?
You're kind of fighting in different theaters of war.
Yeah.
Did you make a video on this, Joel?
No. I made a video on the Star Wars one. Somebody made a video
because I bought this. Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about the Star Wars one.
Star Wars Risk, yeah.
Star Wars Risk, I did make a video on that one.
Okay. Because I bought that at some point. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and you win, well, I guess the win condition is sort of the same, but it's a little bit different. I don't know.
You're right, because there's sort of like 3 different theaters of war, I guess, right?
And you can win in any of them.
You can win in any of them. But I guess the way you use your pieces is different, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's a stretch.
I think it's good.
It's a stretch.
I think it's a stretch, but it's a great stretch because I think it'd be very difficult to find a mass market game that's like the coin system, and I think you found it. That's a good one, Joel.
Yep, I love it. And now you gave me the idea of we also need a coin game that's all cards.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would like that. I would be into that. The PAX games are kind of coin-ish. Some of them. Where you have, it's like you're kind of like shifting teams a lot of times, or shifting.
Right.
But they're their own thing for sure. But I could totally see like a coin card game and like Cuba Libre, the card game or something. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because, yes, in Red Dust Rebellion, as you were saying, one of the factions kind of has its own little hand of cards, little deck or whatever. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. That's
food
just
for thought out there.
Food for thought. Yeah. By the time this episode drops, I'm sure like GMT will have like 10 ideas in the P500. Anyways, it was so fantastic talking to both of you guys, Joel and Rodney. Joel, I'm so glad that when we decided to talk coin, you were like, let's get Rodney in on this. And it all worked out, and it was just super fun. And it's great to talk about these games that excite us all so much, or like the 3 of us, I mean, so much. And I'm again, I'm so reinvigorated and wanting to get one to the table now.
No,
so
100%. Yeah, thanks for inviting us on. And, it's been a while since I talked about coin, and you guys said at the beginning, you kind of feel like you're one of the lone voices. I always feel like that with the coin stuff.
Yeah.
It's great to get on with you guys and talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope we've maybe infected a few other folks, maybe gave them a little curiosity to poke around. Don't be too intimidated. There is a little bit of a barrier to entry, but as Candace was saying, there's more and more people who are putting videos out there. I'll say this not to self-promote, but really just to see if it can help at all. We do have a couple of, I have a teaching video for Cuba Libre, a live teach, so it's different than the traditional one. It's over on the Watch and Play Twitch channel. But I can maybe, if once this goes up on BGG, maybe in the comments, I'll post the links to that in case anyone's checking them out. We also have a full playthrough with Monique and Naveen playing Cuba Libre on the Watch and Play channel proper on YouTube. So
I'll put the links in the show notes.
Oh, great. And that, again, like if you're curious, that's just a couple places to kind of like poke around and not have to take the burden of buying the game and discovering whether or not it's a good fit for you. It might be a way of just sort of getting a little exposure that way.
Yeah. But yeah, fantastic talking with you guys. And now I'm like, British Way, Gandhi. But British Way will probably be easier because it's 2 players and it's easier to get into.
I think so.
Awesome. Well, I hope to see you guys at some point. Joel, one day we'll be at a convention together. Rodney, maybe we will next time we're at a convention together. Hopefully we'll get to play some games together. But it was, fantastic talking to you guys. Thanks for taking the time because I know you're both super busy.
Great to hang out. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Candace. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candace Harris. Special thanks to Matt Fonda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at BoardGameGeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@BoardGameGeek.com. Thanks for listening and happy gaming!